Good evening. We'll begin the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee at 7:03 p.m. Present are committee members Williamson, Limpert, and Schuman. Council members Glassburn, Heeman, and Kelly. Council President Jones, our Law Director, our Planning Director, our Human Resource Director, and guests. On the agenda this evening, we will begin with Resolution 2021-64, the Lawn Care RFP, which reads, a resolution authorizing the Director of Human Resources to solicit proposals from qualified lawn care service providers to perform nuisance abatement work for 2022 and 2023, and further authorizing the mayor, subject to approval of the Board of Control, to enter into a contract for lawn care services. Director Gallo, would you take it from here?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So every year we go out for RFPs for nuisance abatement as far as property maintenance is concerned. And so it's that time of year again. I am requesting a 2-year contract this time, so we don't have to do it next year as well. We only had one contractor apply last year. It was Yard Smart. We've been very happy with them, but we are going out for RFPs soon, as soon as this is passed and goes into effect. And I would like to request suspension on second reading, please.
And the suspension to get it,
Yes, so it will pass at the next council meeting, if it's council's pleasure.
okay. Do you need an emergency clause on this?
No, we would be good without an emergency clause.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any questions from committee? Mr.
Thank you,
Limpert?
Madam Chair. Just in general, I've received a couple calls recently from some residents about how many yards do we end up doing a year for nuisance abatement?
I don't have the information from this year right in front of me, but it varies every year. So it's never a solid number. So some years it may be more, and some years it may be less, and the price fluctuates as well. So some years we pay, around $10,000, or other years it can go up to 15 or 20, depending on what's being done.
So do we have like a kind of a min and a max, or just, I'd be interested just over the last few years, how many do we end up having to abate?
Well, the department has been under me for about a year, 2 years now. Is there really a minimum and max, or it just varies from year to year, depending?
I'm sure we can pull the stats.
Yeah, we can get that information to you.
Thank you.
Yes. Do you want the totals for each year and what it
Yeah,
costs?
I just would like to get a general idea how many, and then, Madam Chair, I ask a follow-up question. Do we engage, how long do we give the residents to resolve it on their own before we call the contractor?
We cite them and we go out there. We're usually used to, we have like the common houses also that we go to, but if they're not responsive, per the code, we follow the code, and then what we do is once they're called, within 48 hours, they come out to clean up the property.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Kelly? Councilman Kelly?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we pay them by the cut, or is this a contract? It's sort of like snow plowing. You pay for a season, and then if you get a lot of plows, you did good. If you didn't get too many, you paid a lot, right? So is this the same thing with the lawn cutting? We just pay them a certain amount, whether we use them or not?
Right. It is in the RFP that was attached to the legislation, and the invoices are submitted on a monthly basis, and it says here, it's a breakdown of any applicable fees for an hourly rate and any other fees. But they charge by what they're doing. So sometimes they're cutting grass, or they're out there cleaning up property as well. Trash, debris, getting rid of weeds, things like that. So some properties, it could be just cutting the grass, or it can be an actual cleanup of the property. So the price varies depending on how long they're out there and what they're doing. And all that comes in through the RFP.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilman Glassburn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of questions. First of which is, I know we do commercial properties and we do residential with this type of program, but have we done, or are we doing homeowners associations or other organizations that have land but may or may not be maintaining their property adequately.
Yeah, I believe that it's regardless of if it's in a homeowners association or not. So you're talking about like a development or something like that, we would do their property as well. Because it's nuisance abatement across the board unless it depends on the homeowners association, but,
Well, I just happen to know in my ward, there are multiple defunct homeowners associations. There's common areas that are not.
oh, for the actual the land that the homeowners association owns, like,
Yes, there's land that homeowners associations owned or cared for, but those homeowners associations don't exist. So it's kind of this netherworld of who's responsible for this. And usually residents take care of it, but the question is if they don't or wouldn't, would this fall under that?
so I apologize, I misunderstood your question at first. I thought you meant homes in a development with the homeowners association, but I'm not sure, I don't have that information off the top of my head, so let me get that to you, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Question?
Yeah, Mr.
Madam Chair,
Glass.
if I may? Thank you. I mean, we do go back and charge back to the tax duplicate for any resident, for any of the properties that we do
Right.
use these services. So if we're doing a lot of defunct HOAs, I mean, there's really no way for us to get paid for doing that, to get our money back on it. We'd become kind of the de facto landowner, so to speak, by just taking care of it. So I don't know, I've never seen a prosecution come through on an HOA issue that I can recall. I mean, there might have, I just do not recall one that would stick out as an issue. But the other side of that is, we want to have a conversation with somebody, because we'd be putting out a significant expenditure for maintaining the HOA property when there's still presumably some form of an HOA that's still there, it's just not operating. But I haven't seen that. But we do charge back. We try to put on a tax duplicate and try to get our payment, our money back. So it's not just a giveaway.
Madam Chair, the other follow-up I had was, what do we need the suspension for? I didn't hear that.
Suspension on second reading, we don't need an emergency clause, so by the time it goes into effect, we can go out for RFP. So it gives us time to get the RFP together, and then we can publish it.
Okay, but I mean, we're not going to be doing grass cutting in December. so-
Yeah, if council doesn't want suspension, that's fine too. I would just like to request suspension so I can put it together
Okay,
before the end of the year.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, what I was interested in knowing is if you could research also, I do also have HOAs that no longer exist, and normally, the little bit of property is a roundabout, in a circle kind of development. And in the past, rather than go through this program, when we had a service director, the service director would actually send someone out just to mow that when it started to get too long. So I would be interested in, having the answers to that as well, to Mr. Glassburn's questions, because it was always a betwixt and a between, because I know, Law Director, there really is no HOA to go after. I mean, there are no more dues being collected, I mean, there's no officers, there's really no one. So the Service Department was kind enough to attend to those on a somewhat irregular basis, but still, they never got totally out of control. So I would like the answers to that as well, please.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Are there any further questions? Director, would you be able to get those questions answered by the end of the week?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, seeing no further questions, I will make a motion to recommend approval of Resolution 2021-64 with suspension and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Limpert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes with a vote of 3-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director. Okay, our next item on the agenda is CMS 21-20558, Smoke City Vape, located at 24137 Lorraine Road. This is for a conditional use permit. Director Lieber?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The applicant has requested a conditional use permit. The property is in our B1 local business district. Many of you probably recall in February of 2019, JoJo's Vape Store was granted a conditional use permit by council for the retail sale of vape products. At the time, that business was relocating from a freestanding store across from the old Starbucks to the Bentley Co-Plaza. So at the time, City Council had conditioned the approval upon the store selling vape products only. So it was a commitment of the applicant at the time they went through Planning Commission and City Council. But now, due to a change in the regulatory environment around vape products, the applicant is seeking to expand their sales to include other types of smoking products, including tobacco, and specifically is requesting that council lift that 2019 restriction associated with their conditional use permit. So they're also considering expanding the types of other permitted uses, whether it be, beverage or snacks or lottery or those types of things that would not have to come before council. But the way our code is written, that the tobacco would need to be approved by City Council. So the applicants also indicated that they might relocate within the same plaza, but any approval should take that relocation within Bentley Co. into consideration. So tonight, we also have with us Doug Burkew. He's the property owner, representative of the property owner, and also Man Youssef, the applicant, and they may wish to have a few more remarks to add to this report.
Director.
Thank you,
Manning?
Kim. My name is Douglas Burkew from Timber Development in Atlanta, Georgia. We've owned the Bentley Co-Plaza close to 7 or 8 years, and I just wanted to thank you for your time. Real quick, I just wanted to show a quick map of North Olmsted that everyone besides us has the use permit that we're seeking, and from Dollar General all the way down to Mark's. So we are surrounded by people who are just seeking for the same type of operation that everyone else has. So Jojo, if you want to talk, I'll let you take it from there. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I came in front of you 3 years ago, I think.
Sir,
And
would you please state your name for the record?
Man Youssef. I am the owner of currently Ohio Vapes, which I intend to change, if approved, to Smoke City. I came in front of you approximately 3 years ago, and I was trying to move my vape shop. Unfortunately, with all the regulations and the changes that's happened in the last 3 years, vaping is stifled. I closed my business about a month and a half, almost 2 months ago, because it became cheaper to just pay the rent than, try to keep it open, because vaping is no longer able to stand on its own. The FDA has regulated to the point to where they issued orders on September 1st that 97% of the manufacturers in the country are practically being shut down. They can no longer make flavors. They can only make tobacco and menthol, et cetera, et cetera. So like I say, if I can't expand my business, I really don't plan on opening back up. If I can, I plan on moving into the old Onyx location and actually expanding it. I'm not really going to elongate this. It's just that you gave me what I asked for in 2019. Unfortunately, I wasn't a fortune teller to be able to tell you 3 years later, my business that was doing $1,500 and $2,000 a day would do $15 to $150 a day. So at this point, I'm just asking to be able to just open up a store and offer more than just vape. I would like to be able to, expand into smoke, accessories, et cetera, possibly beer, wine, lottery, something where I can fill a store and bring people in, because vaping is no longer going to do it. And that's basically it.
So, Mr. Youssef, if I may, I know the last time when you were here, you were adamant that you were never going to sell tobacco products.
True. And I'm an advocate. I've been a part of a lawsuit against the FDA. I've been to Washington, D.C. and sat in the courtroom. So I was really diehard about it. But at this point, it's a business decision. And, I used to always get told, sell cigarettes, that's where the vapor comes from. And I'm like, that's not sufficient for me, okay? And I might still, the problem is we have to have tobacco license. Now we're considered to be tobacco. I went to get tobacco licenses. They tell me downtown, when you stop selling tobacco, let us know, we have to revoke your license. I'm like, excuse me? They're like, yeah, you're a tobacco store now. For you, because they passed a law in December that we can no longer ship. I don't know if you read the letter or rambling that I did. I closed 7 businesses in the last year and a half. I used to have 3 eBays, 2 Amazons, a wholesale and a retail that I operated out of a warehouse. They killed shipping. You could no longer ship vape products. So at that point, for me as a store to be able to go around the USPS's, laws, I have to register with the ATF and I have to register a tobacco license. I go downtown to get tobacco licenses for my store. They tell me if I don't have tobacco, I have to notify them when I stop selling tobacco so they can revoke my license. Now, I don't know if somebody real clever from Marlboro wrote that law in Washington, D.C., but that's how, I can't get nothing shipped unless I'm registered as a tobacco store to be able to get stuff shipped to me for my store. That's not my pressing issue. That's not my only issue. My issue is I want to keep vape, but vape on its own is not going to survive. And again, when I've been told this since I've been in vaping, where are you going to find the next guy that's going to vape if you can't bring the smoker into your store? Not that I still wholeheartedly agree, but that's probably the only thing I kind of agree with as to justifying it to myself that I'm going to go back in that direction. But unfortunately, I'm not in control of that. The government is, and I'm just trying to keep a business afloat. If you read if you read what I wrote you can research it on the internet. I own a company called Mod Shield. I made all the silicone cases to the mods. Silicone cases, like a phone case. Amazon and eBay knocked over 800 listings in one day because what they did is, let's say, car cover for a Corvette. They decided to say a Corvette is a red flag word. So when I say car cover for a Corvette, that automatically goes up. Now my listing goes off. Amazon 3 months ago took off 368 listings at once. All I'm selling is a silicone case. But because it's a silicone case for a Vaporesso Target is a red flag word, you can't have it on Amazon. And every time I have to appeal it, they'll put it back on. 3 weeks later, they take it off. It got to the point where I just told them, I said, look, I'm done. My Amazon store used to do $80,000 a month. If I do $1,500 a month, it's just not even worth it anymore. They're like, well, appeal it, we'll put it back up, so I'm done. So they're attacking the vape industry from every direction. And like I say, I have to do something else. And that's the only way. If you drove past my store, you'll see. I've had paper on my store since I think the 20th of September. That's, I just, between having workers and, not making enough money to survive, that was it. I just said, it's just not worth it for me if I can expand, basically, like I say, the permit I asked for 3 years ago, the way it was given to me, it said, I didn't get a permit for a vape shop. I got a permit for vape products only. So if I'm selling CBD, I'm outside of the permit I was given.
Well, Mr. Youssef, I believe that's what you asked for. You were adamant that that's all you were selling, and I think that was a condition. May I finish, please? I've given you the floor all this time. I have a few questions that I would like for you to answer, please. So back in 2019, when you were here, you had requested vape only, and that's why you were granted that.
Okay.
For vape only. I think that was also a condition from the Planning and Design Commission, and that was also written into the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee's motion when we passed this to the rest of council.
Okay.
That's why it was done as vape only, because you said that's all you were going to be selling, because you were adamant against tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are today. I guess what I'm asking is, I understand that you want to expand your license. Are you asking for tobacco products? Are you asking to sell food, drinks, CBD, kratom? whatever else is on the market now? I mean, are these
I
all
don't know,
the things?
food, not, but yeah.
So, no food,
I don't see no,
snacks, chips, or anything like that?
not really, no.
Okay, and then what are you proposing your hours of operation are? I know you're taking that corner spot. I just want to know what kind of traffic we're going to be looking at and then operating within that residential area, because I know there's houses right there as well on that corner.
I mean, in all honesty, I've never had no more than 50 customers inside of my place in any one day. So I don't, that's my whole objective, is to try to bring more traffic in the door, but if I want it to be left open where I can have beer, wine, and lottery if I feel the need for it.
Do
You know-
you plan on selling any kind of other products, as in pipes, hookahs?
Probably, whatever smoke shop accessories, yeah.
Okay.
It's the same thing that everyone else is.
I understand that. To our law director, I know I've asked this question before, and I believe that there's a disconnect between how our ordinance is written and what the police department feels that they are able to do, but I know that we have a number of places that sell pipes that are not necessarily used for tobacco. And I don't know what our ordinances are, if they're geared up to take care of this. I know, like I said, there's a disconnect between, and I would like to get this addressed once and for all, because I think I've been asking about this since 2017. Maybe even earlier, but I'll go with that. So this is a concern. If this, there are a number of businesses right now on Lane Road that are selling these things. Some are in the front of the store, there's a number of beautiful glass displays of everything you could dream of, and I would like to know what can and cannot be sold legally. Yes.
Ma'am, thank you. The original ordinance on the books dates back to the early 80s, if I recall, which was the head shop ordinance, right? It was the record store that's got the back room with the curtain, and you're selling marijuana-related products to smoke marijuana, bongs, things of that nature, right? And I think that was the original model from the early 80s, which didn't envision a tobacco use for these particular products. The hookah products, which is, it's a little bit different because not everybody using these products is using them for a marijuana use, So that ordinance dates back to that period of time, and I think there's been some reluctance on the part of the police department to enforce it. Frankly, I don't necessarily blame them, because it would seem to be time to probably take a look at whether or not that's exactly what we were targeting and then we want to continue to target, or is there some other way that the council can address this particular concern if there's a concern to be addressed. The original goal was to address the use and proliferation of marijuana, smoking, and products to assist in the ingestion of marijuana products. That's what the original goal was. That was the target. It's gone outside of that. I don't know a whole lot about the hookah, the use of it for hookah. I know we've had applications for hookah bars. I've seen people sitting outside with hookah pipes, using them out in the parking lot, outside the bar because they couldn't be inside the bar. I've seen all sorts of things. So it may not be a bad time to review it, to go back and take a look at it, to see if this is a product that has a lawful use, that could be permitted, authorized, allowed, so to speak, or whether it's something that we would want to then say that that's the line to be drawn, and we're going to go back and toughen it up and enforce it and move on. I understand the ambiguity. It starts with the idea of where the ordinance originally came from, and now there's a use that's lawful, there's a lawful use for it, versus what was originally almost exclusively unlawful use associated with those products.
But there's a difference between a hookah and a bong.
Yeah, it's the whole field of products.
Okay.
To smoke any type of a product designed to be smoked, there's all kinds that are out there that could be used. I would imagine could be used legally or illegally. That could be dual purpose. I'm not a big guy with my knowledge on marijuana delivery devices.
Okay. Perhaps after this meeting, we're gonna.
What's that?
After the meeting, if we could
Sure.
chat for just a bit.
Can I add something into that right there, real quick?
Certainly.
CBD has flour, and Delta 8 has flour. And that's probably what's costing me 90% of my business, because a customer will walk in, they'll buy the flour, which just looks like the regular tobacco, and they want the pipe to smoke it out of, and I tell them, you gotta go down the street. They go down the street, that guy's got the pipe, and he's got the vape. They have no reason to come back to me. And I mean, I've run into people like at gas stations say, well, I had you used to come for 4 years, I haven't seen you, what happened? Oh, I just go down there to Vitrum and I get what I need, or, I go down to Daystar and I get what I need. So, when the next guy has everything that he wants offered to him, I'm just like parlaying off of what he just said, there is a legitimate legal use because CBD has, if you looked at it, if you smelled it, everything, but this doesn't have any THC, it doesn't get you high.
I know that.
And a lot of people are using that. And now they have Delta 8, which is a different form of CBD, and the same thing. A lot of people are using that for that, for that aspect as well. And that's it.
Okay.
Madam Chair. I'm sure the law director remembers this, about probably 9 years ago, you brought us legislation to update how we handle this issue, and you wanted to mirror the state code.
Right.
Do you remember that?
I do recall that.
And we did, we passed it.
Right.
So has the state code changed at all?
I'm not, Madam Chairwoman, I'm not aware of a state code change in that area.
So, so technically paraphernalia is still illegal, you can't sell it?
It probably becomes paraphernalia when it's associated with an
Right.
unlawful use, but the residue of marijuana use is probably what gets you. Besides, we could be 6 months away from having legal marijuana in the state of Ohio.
Sure.
It's that it seems like we're heading down that path. I think there was a bill introduced, and I'm not sure it's going to get any traction.
Then let's repeal all of our ordinances that deal with it.
That would be a council decision.
If that's
Yeah.
where we're at, then we might as well get rid of all of the things we have now.
Well, it would be, if that was council's, desire to go down that path and leave it up to a state code regulation and go that route, they could. That would be a legislative decision, But I don't know about the marijuana component of it. For a while there, we weren't even, I know that the county wasn't enforcing some of the juvenile marijuana issues because of the CBD and the issue of marijuana and the inability to distinguish between the two in the field, and they weren't even prosecuting for a while. And it's still, I know there was a drop-off in prosecutions over that. It's a different issue. It seems like this may resolve itself at some point, where if the stuff becomes legal, which it seems like the state maybe someday may go down that road, I don't know. But as of now, it's a worthy discussion to have, not so much about repealing it all, but at least reviewing if we think there's a legitimate lawful use for it, versus, the original intended objective was to prohibit the proliferation and use of marijuana as a delivery device, and I think it's a different field. I'm not an expert in it, but it's probably worth a discussion to have.
Okay. And has Kratom been legalized?
Kratom is not, Kratom has never been illegal.
Okay. But there's no regulations on it?
The pharmaceutical industry was attempting to regulate Kratom, and as far as I know, the pharmaceutical industry did not regulate Kratom. They stopped.
I don't even know what that is.
So where does that stand with selling it?
It is lawful to sell Kratom in the state of Ohio.
It is lawful?
It is legal.
Okay, thank you. I just had one other question.
Mr. Glassburn has his hand up.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. Mr. Glassman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see as we have at least a couple separate issues here. One is the question of how we handle these substances and devices and sale of them, but the more pertinent is the question of the zoning of this specific business. I'm aware that there are other shops and that there are multiple businesses. I guess what's unique in terms of zoning or use of this shopping center for this purpose to me is that it is not a gas station, and it's not some of the other more what I think of as retail areas aren't next to residential housing. So I'm not sure what out of the other entities, is there another entity that is like this that already has this permit that is both more of a retail strip and next to a residential area. And I don't know if even just looking at that, we can determine that or not, but.
Dollar General backs up to a lot of retail, I mean,
And I'm not really trying to make a
I
point
mean,
for
I
or against.
don't know
just
if you have probably, I mean, I don't really know like residential, I live in North Olmsted, but I don't drive around checking out the residential areas, but you got Walgreens, I mean, I don't know like how much they sell. For instance, right across the street, you got the Arabica Rotisserie Market. They're right on the corner of a street, I think, and they're a rotisserie market, and they got hookahs and pipes everywhere, But I didn't really, I'm not here to really argue as to who's got what, or, you know what I'm saying? I just, simply, I don't want to be punished because I was a vape advocate when everybody hated vaping. Like I say, I was a diehard vape guy, but at this point, it's a decision between, I closed my store 2 months ago. Do I continue and just move on? I have another store in Parma. I own a sign company that, I've been basically taking money from that business to keep this business going. Or do I go ahead and try to, do a legitimate store that I can rely on something other than vape? That's basically what I'm in front of you for. As far as, like I say, there's Brick City Vapor is right here by, but they've been here as long as I have. They opened up around the same time I originally opened up. Like I say, Arabica, a puff above, no, they don't back up. They're right across the street from, from housing. But I don't know, if you want something where you're talking about like, a street away or whatever, that, they're another one that's, by housing. Vitrum Smoke Shop, I don't think there's any housing around them. Maybe, no, there's a church across the street, yeah, maybe behind them there's housing, yeah, but not, I mean, I don't know, like I say, I don't know if there's, right on the corner of Clegg and Lorraine, that's Ohio gas station, they got everything. They got vapes, they got Juul, they got everything. And they're right next to an apartment building and housing right behind them. But like I said, I'm not coming here to question you guys I'm just telling you the predicament I'm in. If I can get some relief to operate, fine. If I can't, I can't. That's just the position my business is in.
Is that
Thank
Mr.
you,
Glassburn? Because I
Chair.
think Ms. Heeman, and then
Oh.
we'll go to Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for the owner of the plaza. Have you worked with your tenant to give him any kind of rent reduction or rent relief at all?
during COVID, I lost $1 million. I just lost the daycare center.
Could you use the microphone just for the record, please? Thank
Again,
you.
Douglas Burke, Timber Development. During COVID, I lost over $1 million of money that I didn't have, but I thought it was better for me to lose the meeting than to lose the meeting.
Step back a little bit from the
I'm sorry.
microphone, Doug. There you go.
So our company lost over $1 million, okay? I just lost a daycare center this week. They went out of business because there's no more workers working.
My question is did you work with this particular tenant?
Yes,
Okay.
I reached out to every single tenant that I had, and I went back to my mortgage lender, which is SunTrust Bank, and asked them to reduce the mortgage in half so I could at least keep the shopping center afloat.
Okay,
Yes, so,
all right, thank you.
thank you.
And so to the business owner, my question, it's not a question really, it's a comment, right? Kodak, for example, went under because people no longer wanted film, okay? So we can't change your business model, really. You can only ask for what it is you want. And I'm not clear today what it is you want. I don't know how I could help you, really, because you're saying that you want anything and everything, and you've not narrowed a scope to any permit that really provides us information that would not require overriding some perhaps other authority. I'm just not really clear about what you want.
Okay.
And I understand your predicament, but I don't want you to think I
Okay,
don't.
two things I got to say.
Thank you.
He offered me help during the COVID, okay? He missed the part that I refused it, okay? Because I have other businesses that were making money, and I said, listen, you got children that need food, just like I got children that need food. As long as I can afford it, I'm gonna pay you rent. And I didn't accept none of his offerings. And he's got a bunch of centers around the country, and he tells me I'm the only tenant that refused to accept it from him. Two, before I came before you in 2019, I had a general retails permit, okay? And I was brought in front of you by a statute that addressed smoke shops, tattoo shops, nail salons, massage parlors, and drug
So,
paraphernalia stores.
I need to stop you because I understand all of that, but I think, the thing now is now you're saying, well, maybe you want, beer, wine, maybe you want lottery, maybe you want everything but food, and I wouldn't even know what I'd be voting on because I really don't know what you want. I realize what you want is a successful business. And I think we are all committed to trying to help business owners in North Olmsted do that. But I'm just really unclear.
Okay, how about a smoke shop, vape shop,
Well,
just like other smoke shop, vape shops in the city?
I-
Is that
I can't tell
narrowed
you what to
down?
apply for. I mean, I can't, So if Director Lieber is standing there, if she'd like to.
Yeah, I was of the understanding that I was here to get the restriction lifted. That's what I thought it was. Okay, so I
think
don't
we
know,
were-
maybe.
We were all a
what we
little bit
talked about.
confused in trying to figure out exactly what it is that is being requested, aside from lifting that part. So-
Madam Chair, I just want to point out that lottery and a beverage store do not require council's approval. They are permitted uses. So today, with his vape store, he could expand into the permitted use area of beverages and lottery. So the only request in front of council is for the tobacco sales and related smoking paraphernalia. That is what he has presented that is in conflict with his previously issued conditional use permit. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Director Lieber, are there any restrictions as to hours since this abuts a residential property?
There are not, but council may place such a restriction.
Okay. Mr. Youssef, were there any particular hours you were planning on being open?
I mean, it's just usually like 10 to 10. If it needs to be less, it can be
No,
less.
I was just asking.
Yeah, I mean,
What your
when-
intentions were. I don't know what hours you were open.
When my business was vibrant, it was, 10 to 10, and the most I ever opened is 9, but I didn't see it, in the morning. So 10 to 10 would be the max.
So I keep going back to the tobacco smoking paraphernalia. What exactly does that entail? May I ask? I mean, if this is something that is going to be sold at this location, I would like to know what it exactly is meant by that, because it's kind of a broad area.
Our code does not define all the actual items that would fall under smoke shop or tobacco sales. I would interpret it, if the law director would agree, as anything that is legal that would be used for smoking, or a tobacco-related product or an accessory. So, that it's not, I think it would be difficult in our code to list every particular item, especially with the speed of change of these regulations. So anything that is legal.
Okay. Mr. Kelly? Did you have?
My question was about the hours, because he didn't answer it the first time, but you went back to it, so I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Schuman.
I just wanted to mention that the Planning Commission voted unanimously to allow him to become a smoke and vape shop.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? No further comments? Okay. Seeing none, then I will recommend approval to all of council and ask for a second.
Madam Chair, sorry, I do have a question. Can you withdraw
Yes.
that recommendation?
Um,
So what's the timing of approval of this? What's your timeline for trying to, reopen the shop? Because to be honest, I'm still a little bit digesting some of this, so.
If I get the approval, I intend on moving to the corner where Onyx is, because in my current location, I really don't have the proper room to expand. I would end up being with like 5 feet in the middle, barely passing the fire code. So I'm planning on moving to the corner, so it'd probably take me a couple months to build it out and, get it inventoried right and stuff. So maybe January.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I'm actually going to change it. I would like to further get information from the law department. I'm just going to make a motion that we hold this for a week and we reconvene next Tuesday.
I'll second that, Madam
It's
President.
seven.
Or Madam Chair.
15? 7:15? I think,
Hold on, actually, Madam Chairwoman, we have, the first meeting we have next Tuesday, the 16th, is at 7:40.
so 7:15 would work?
Yes.
All right. So I'm just going to make a motion to hold this for 1 week to address a couple of the questions that we had. And ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Limpert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. We will reconvene next Tuesday, the 16th at 7:15.
Is that it?
Yes, and our meeting is concluded at